Yes, continuation to the last class. What are the sphincters which are present in the alimentary canal of the human in a sequence, and how many number of the sphincters are present in the alimentary canal of the human means the very important neat questions in structure of alimentary canal is nothing but totally how many number of the sphincters are present, what are the sequence of the sphincters from the anterior to posterior in human alimentary canal means sequence of sphincters in human alimentary canal from anterior to posterior are supraesophageal sphincter. This is the first sphincter in human alimentary canal. Below to that, gastroesophageal sphincter. This is also called as cardiac sphincter. This is the cardiac sphincter. Below to that, pyloric sphincter. Below to that, Addi sphincter. Below to that, ileocecal sphincter. Below to that, internal anal sphincter. Below to that, external anal sphincter. So totally in human alimentary canal, how many number of the sphincters are present means 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Totally 7 sphincters are present in human alimentary canal. Of the 7, this is the supraesophageal sphincter. This is the voluntary in function because it is made up of with the skeletal muscle. So that only that maybe works with our conscious. So that only that is said to be as the voluntary. Again remaining this 5 are involuntary. These 5 are involuntary because they may be made up of with the smooth muscle. So they may not work with our conscious. So that only they are the involuntary. Again last one, that is the external anal sphincter. This is also voluntary because this is made up of with the skeletal muscle. So that only that's also voluntary, means that works with our conscious. Means of the total 7 sphincters, how many number of these sphincters are voluntary, how many number of these sphincters are involuntary means 2 sphincters are voluntary, that is the supraesophageal sphincter, external anal sphincter are voluntary. Remaining 5 sphincters which may be present, they are involuntary because they are made up of with those smooth muscle. Next topic, what is the histology of human alimentary canal? Next topic is histology of gut or elementary canal, histology of gut or elementary canal. What is the histology means? What are the layers, what are the tissues which are present in the wall of the elementary canal from esophagus to the rectum is nothing but histology. Means how many number of the layers are present in the wall of the elementary canal? What kind of the tissues which may be involved in the formation of wall of elementary canal is nothing but histology. From the esophagus to the rectum, if we can observe the transverse section of wall of elementary canal, 4 layers are appears in a sequence. In wall of the elementary canal, if we can observe the transverse section, definitely from outer to inner, 4 layers are very clearly appear. What are the 4 layers of wall of elementary canal which are present in the wall? Means outermost layer is serosa. Outermost layer which is present in the wall of elementary canal from esophagus to rectum is the serosa. This is made up of with mesothelium. This is made up of with mesothelium. Mesothelium nothing but modified simple squamous epithelium is said to be as the mesothelium. Modified simple squamous epithelium is nothing but mesothelium, that is principally involved in the formation of the serosa. Below to that, whatever the muscle layer which is present, that muscularis layer is again with 2 kinds of muscles of them. Means below to that kind of the serosa, muscularis externa or muscularis layer is present. In muscularis externa, again 2 types of the muscles are present. Outermost muscles are said to be as the longitudinal muscle. Outermost muscles which are present in the muscularis layer are longitudinal muscle. Below to that, whatever the muscles which are present which are circular, that muscles are said to be as the circular muscles. Means in the muscularis externa, outermost muscles which are present, they are the longitudinal muscle. Innermost muscles which are present, they are the circular muscles. Both type of the muscles are smooth muscle. Both type of the muscles are smooth muscle. They are involuntary in working. They may not be works with our conscious. Principally, this kind of the muscles are useful for the peristaltic movement. Peristaltic movement means wave-like movements which may be appears in the wall of elementary canal for easy passing of the food material from the anterior to posterior is said to be as the peristaltic movement. Specifically, longitudinal muscles as well as the circular muscle, both of them are useful for the peristaltic movement. Specifically in the case of the stomach, but not in the other part of elementary canal. In the case of the stomach, third type of the muscles which are present, specifically in the case of the wall of the stomach only, third type of the muscles are present but not in the other part of elementary canal. Such muscles are said to be as the oblique muscle. third type of the muscles only which are present in the stomach wall but not in the other part of alimentary canal are the oblique muscle. These are only present in stomach. Only present in stomach but not in other part of alimentary canal. Because of due to the presence of the oblique muscle in stomach, more effective peristaltic movements are occurs in the case of the stomach. That is helpful for the mechanical digestion, that is the churning movement. Due to the presence of the three type of the muscles in the stomach, means longitudinal muscle, circular muscle, oblique muscle, powerful peristaltic movements are taken place in the wall of the stomach. That is useful for the churning of the food material. That is the one type of the mechanical digestion. Again, this three types of the muscles together called muscularis externa. Second layer in the wall of the alimentary canal is the muscularis externa. In muscularis externa, outermost layer is longitudinal muscle. Innermost muscles are the circular muscle. But specifically in the case of the stomach wall, third type of the muscle, unique muscles are appear. That is the oblique muscle. Below to that kind of the muscle layer, loose connective tissue layer which is present, that is said to be as the submucosa. This is the submucosa. Submucosa is made up of with loose connective tissue. This is made up of with loose connective tissue. Wherever the loose connective tissue is present, that is again must be with the blood vessel, nerves as well as lymph vessel. Whatever the part of the body which may be, if in that particular area loose connective tissue is present, definitely that is with the blood vessel, that is with the blood vessels, that is with the lymph vessel, that is with the nerves. Means in the case of the submucosa of alimentary canal also, loose connective tissue is present, that is with the blood vessel, that is with the lymph vessel, that is with the nerves. In most of the areas of alimentary canal in the submucosa, glands may not be present. But in submucosa of duodenum, specialized glands are present. They are said to be as the Brunner's glands. Specifically in the duodenum, in submucosa, specialized glands are present. They are said to be as the Brunner's glands. They principally useful for the secretion of the mucus. In submucosa normally glands may not be present. Exceptional case is that in the case of the submucosa of the duodenum, only Brunner's glands are present. They are useful for the secretion of the mucus. Below to that kind of the submucosa, innermost layer which is present, which faces towards the lumen, innermost layer which is present in the wall of the alimentary canal is said to be as the mucosa. Innermost layer which is present in the wall of the alimentary canal is the mucosa. Again, this mucosa is made up of with the simple columnar epithelium This mucosa is principally made up of with simple columnar epithelium. Again, from the outer surface of simple columnar epithelial cells, specialized finger-like projections are projected towards the lumina of alimentary canal. Such finger-like projections are said to be as the villi in intestine. These are said to be as the villi specifically in intestine. Again, similar finger-like irregular foldings are appears in the case of the stomach. Similar kind of the structures are appears in the case of the stomach, like this. That kind of the irregular foldings are said to be as the gastric rugae. Specifically in the case of the stomach, from the outer surface of the epithelial cell, irregular foldings which may be appears, they are said to be as the gastric rugae. Similar kind of the foldings which may be appear in the wall of the small intestine is said to be as the villi. Villi are useful to increase surface area for absorption of the digested food material. This villi is principally useful to increase the surface area for absorption of the digested food material, but gastric rugae is principally useful to increase the surface area for accommodation of the more amount of the food material. Means whatever the ingested food which is reaches into the stomach, if the person feeds on more amount of the food material, to accommodate that kind of the ingested more amount of the food material, this gastric rugae gets enlarges. By that way, they increases the surface area for accommodation of the more amount of the ingested food material. Means gastric rugae is principally useful to increase the surface area for accommodation of the food, but villi of intestine principally useful to increase the surface area for absorption of the digested food material. Again, specifically in the case of the small intestine, from this kind of the villi, again microvilli are gets formed here. Again, from the surface of that kind of the each and every villi, microvilli are gets formed here. These are the microvilli. Villi and microvilli together constitute brush border appearance. Both of them together constitute brush border appearance. Villi along with the microvilli, both of them together constitute the brush border appearance. That brush border appearance together useful to increase the surface area for absorption of the digested food material greatly. Again, when we observe the single villi, that is nothing but villus. Single villi is nothing but villus. Means villus is the singular word, villi is the plural word. When we observe the single villi, in single villus, what are the structures which are present? Means if we can observe the transverse section of the villus, in the villus transverse section, principally two type of the blood vessels are appears. This is said to be as the artery. This is said to be as the vein. This is said to be as the vein. Again, big sized lymph capillary is also appears. This is said to be as the lactale. Specifically in the case of the villi or in each and every villus, blood capillary network is appear, means artery vein together constitute blood capillary network. Again, third type of the lymph vessel which is present, lymph capillary which is present, which is big in size, that is said to be as the lactale. Big sized lymph capillary which is present in the villi is said to be as the lactale. Again, at the base of this villi, whatever the crypt which is present, which is useful for the secretion of the intestinal juice, that kind of the crypt is said to be as the crypts of Leberkuhn. These are said to be as the crypt of Leberkuhn. At the base of villi, specifically the space between the two villi at base, whatever the crypt which is present, whatever the rounded structures which are present, they are said to be as the crypt of Leberkuhn. They are principally useful for secretion of intestinal juice. They are principally useful for secretion of the intestinal juice. Means this crypt of Leberkuhn secrete intestinal juice or succus entericus. This is also called as the succus entericus. Similarly, in the gastric or in stomach, between the two gastric rugae, whatever the space which is present, in that particular space, microscopic glands are present. They are said to be as the gastric gland. Specifically in the case of the stomach, between the two rugae, whatever the space is present, where definitely gastric glands are present for secretion of the gastric juice. Again, in mucosa, goblet cells are present, specialized cells are present for the mucus secretion. That kind of the cells are said to be as the goblet cell. Definitely in the case of the mucosa, specialized mucus secreting cells are present. That kind of the cells are said to be as the goblet cells. They principally concerned for secretion of the mucus. For secretion of the mucus, specifically in the case of the small intestinal mucosa, these goblet cells are present. They are principally useful for the secretion of the mucus substance here. This is the histology of alimentary canal. The important neat questions in this particular concept is, what are the layers which are present in the wall of the alimentary canal in a sequence from outer to inner? What are the layers which are present in the alimentary canal in a sequence from outer to inner means, outermost layer is serosa, below to that muscularis externa is present. In muscularis externa, again outermost muscles are longitudinal muscle. Below to that circular muscles are present. Specifically in the case of the stomach, only third type of the muscles are present. They are oblique muscle. They are only present in the case of the stomach but not in the other part of alimentary canal. Below to that submucosa, below to that mucosa layer is present. Layers sequence in wall of alimentary canal are serosa, longitudinal muscle, circular muscle, oblique muscle, submucosa, mucosa are in a sequence which are present in the wall of alimentary canal from outer to inner. Next concept is digestive glands. Next topic is digestive glands. In associated with alimentary canal of human, what kind of the digestive glands are present means, what are the digestive glands? Digestive glands which are associated to the alimentary canal of the human means, first one is the salivary glands, second one is the gastric glands, third one is the intestinal glands, again fourth one is the liver, fifth one is pancreas or composite gland or sweet gland. Definitely in association with the human alimentary canal, 5 different kind of the glands are present. One is the salivary gland, second gastric gland, third intestinal gland, fourth liver, fifth one is the pancreas. Of that, first one is the salivary glands. First type of the glands are salivary glands. How many number of the salivary glands are present in the human? How many number of the salivary glands are present in the other mammals means, in human 3 pairs of salivary glands are present, but in the other mammals they are 4 pairs. In the case of the human body, specifically to the outside of the oral cavity, 3 pairs of the salivary glands are present. They opens into the oral cavity, they releases the salivary juice. But in the case of the other mammal, 4 pairs of the salivary glands are present. Then what are the 3 pairs of the salivary glands which are present in the case of the human body means, first one is the parotid salivary glands. First type of the salivary glands are parotid salivary glands, which are present just below to the external pinna. On either side, just below to the external pinna, 1 pair of the salivary glands are present. These are said to be as the parotid salivary glands. Again, how that kind of the parotid salivary glands are opens into oral cavity means, through a pair of the ducts. Their ducts are said to be as the Stenson's ducts. Through these Stenson's ducts, this parotid salivary glands are gets opens into the oral cavity. Second type of the salivary glands are submaxillary. This is the angle of upper and lower jaw. This is the angle of upper and lower jaw. At the angle of upper and lower jaw, 1 pair of the salivary glands which are present, they are said to be as the submaxillary salivary glands. Submaxillary salivary glands, they gets opens into the oral cavity through their duct. That kind of the ducts are said to be as the Wharton's ducts. Duct submaxillary salivary glands are opens into the oral cavity through the Wharton's duct. Third type of the salivary glands which are present just below to the tongue, that kind of the third type of the salivary glands are said to be as the sublingual. These are said to be as the sublingual salivary glands. Sub means below, lingua means tongue. Just below to the tongue, whatever the third type of the salivary glands which are present in our body, that is the sublingual salivary glands. These are gets opens into oral cavity through many pairs of ducts. These are gets opens into the oral cavity through many ducts. That is said to be as the ravenous ducts. Ducts of sublingual salivary glands is said to be as the ravenous duct. Definitely, in the human, just below to the eyeball, infraorbital salivary gland is absent, but in the case of the other mammal, just below to the eyeball, infraorbital salivary gland is present. In all other mammals, infraorbital salivary glands are present just below to the eyeball, but that is absent in the case of the human. In the human, infraorbital salivary glands are absent. So that only in the case of the human, totally 3 pairs of salivary glands are present. But in the case of the other mammals, 4 pairs of the salivary glands are present. Whatever the salivary glands which are present, this each and every salivary glands are with 2 types of these cells. Salivary glands are with 2 types of these cells. One is said to be as the serous cells. Second one is said to be as the mucus cells. Each and every salivary gland is made up of with 2 types of this cell. One is the serous cell, second one is the mucus cell. Serous cells principally useful to secrete ptyalin or salivary amylase or alpha amylase. Definitely ptyalin is also called as alpha amylase. Alpha amylase. Second one is the lysozyme. This is the antibacterial enzyme. Serous cells of the salivary gland secrete the 2 types of the enzyme. First one is the ptyalin or the salivary amylase or alpha amylase. Second one is the lysozyme. Mucus cells always secrete the mucus. They are principally useful for the secretion of the mucus. Whatever the salivary glands which secrete the saliva, salivary glands secrete the salivary juice, that is the saliva, whose pH is 6.8. In saliva, definitely ptyalin or alpha amylase or salivary amylase enzymes are present, and also lysozyme enzyme that kills the bacteria is also present, and electrolytes such as sodium, potassium, Cl minus, bicarbonates also present as the electrolyte in the salivary juice. Again, this salivary juice principally releases into the oral cavity with the sensations of sight, smell and also touch of food material. Means on seeing the food material, salivary glands are becomes excited and releases the salivary juice. On sense of the smell of food material with the touch of the food to the tongue, definitely salivary glands are becomes excitable. They secrete the salivary juice into the oral cavity. Again, at the pH of 7.8 only, this ptyalin or alpha amylase or the salivary amylase is more effective for working over the carbohydrates for beginning of the carbohydrate digestion in the case of the oral cavity. This is the first type of the gland, that is the salivary gland. Second type of the glands are gastric glands. Second type of the digestive glands are gastric glands, where the gastric glands are present means in mucosa of the stomach. In the mucosa of stomach, specifically among the gastric rugae, microscopic glands which may be present, they are said to be as the gastric glands. This gastric glands are principally categorized into three types. One is the cardiac gastric glands. Second one is the fundic gastric glands. Fundic gastric glands. Third one is the pyloric gastric glands. Depending upon their location, this gastric glands are principally categorized into three types. One is the cardiac gastric glands, they are present in the cardiac stomach. Second one is the fundic gastric glands, they are present in the fundic stomach. Third one is the pyloric gastric glands, they are present in the pyloric stomach. Again, this cardiac gastric glands are with the two type of the cells. This cardiac gastric glands are principally with the two type of the cell. First type of the cells are the these are with the neck cells. Cardiac gastric glands are with the neck cell. They are useful for the secretion of the mucus. In cardiac stomach, whatever the gastric glands which may be present, they are the cardiac gastric gland. They are with the mucus cells or the neck cell. They are principally useful for the secretion of the mucus. Fundic gastric gland are with the three type of this cell. One is the neck cells or mucus cell. They are principally useful for the secretion of the mucus. Second one is the parietal cells or oxyntic cells. These parietal cells are the oxyntic cells, principally secrete HCl and caseal intrinsic factor. Caseal intrinsic factor is principally useful for B12 vitamin absorption. Means whatever the vitamin B12 which is reaches into alimentary canal through the ingested food, such vitamin B12 have to be gets moves into the blood through the wall of alimentary canal. For such absorption of vitamin B12, caseal intrinsic factor must be required. If this vitamin B12 is available to the body, that must be induces the maturation of the RBC, so that only person never suffered with anemia condition or the anemia disease. Means in the presence of the B12 vitamin, RBC maturation is going on continuously. So that only never RBC counting is decreases in the person. So that only person may not be suffered with the anemia disease. But due to any reason, if parietal cells are the oxyntic cells of stomach or becomes non-functional, definitely caseal intrinsic factor is not gets secreted. By that way, B12 vitamin which is present in the ingested food is not gets absorbed. By that way, this RBC maturation is gets stopped here. By that way, RBC number is decreases. By that way, finally, that leads to anemia disease. Means in the case of the absence of parietal cell, in non-functioning of parietal cell, definitely this caseal intrinsic factor or the B12 vitamin, caseal intrinsic factor is not gets secreted. By that way, B12 vitamin absorption is not occurs. By that way, maturation of RBC is not taken place. By that way, person may be leads to anemia condition. Again, third type of the cells are the peptic cells or sheep cells. These peptic cells are the sheep cell principally useful for secretion of proenzyme, that is the pepsinogen, that is the inactive form of enzyme, that is the mother enzyme or proenzyme. Second one is the prorenin. Third one is the gastric lipase. Little amount of gastric lipase is also gets secreted. Means peptic cells are chief cell, principally secrete pepsinogen, prorenin, gastric lipase. Next, pyloric gastric glands are principally with two kind of the cell. One is the G cells. They principally secrete gastrin hormone. Second one is the neck cells. They principally secrete the mucus. Pyloric gastric glands are principally with two type of these cells. One is the G cell, they are principally useful for the gastric hormone, gastrin hormone secretion. Second, neck cells, that is nothing but that is useful for the mucus secretion. Sir, ఒకసారి సౌండ్ వస్తుంది చూడండి, ఇక్కడ అయిపోయినట్టు అనిపిస్తుంది, వస్తుందా? Definitely in the pyloric gastric glands, two types of the cells are present. One is the G cell, that is useful for the secretion of the gastrin hormone. Second one is the neck cell, that is useful for the secretion of the mucus. Overall, this gastric gland secrete the gastric juice. Gastric glands overall secrete the gastric juice. This gastric juice pH is 0.9 to 1.8. The optimum pH for more effective working of pepsin in stomach is nothing but 0.9 to 1.8. That is the pH of the gastric juice. Again, third type of the digestive gland or intestinal glands. Third type of the digestive glands are intestinal glands. So what are the intestinal glands means? Glands which are present in wall of intestine, such as crypt of Leberkuhn, and in submucosa whatever the Bunner's glands which are present, they together called as the intestinal glands. means crypts of Leberkuhn and Brunner's glands which are present in submucosa of duodenum. These two together called as the intestinal glands. In mucosa, whatever the crypt of Leberkuhn's are present, in submucosa of duodenum, whatever the Brunner's glands which are present, these two together called as the intestinal glands. This intestinal glands together secrete intestinal juice. Intestinal juice or succus entericus, that is said to be as the succus entericus or intestinal juice. Then what are the enzymes which are present in the intestinal juice? What are the enzymes which are present in the succus entericus means, in succus entericus or in intestinal juice, what are the enzymes which are present means, dipeptidases enzymes are present, disaccharidases, specifically disaccharidases are also called as brush border enzymes. Disaccharidases are also called as the brush border enzymes. They are maltase, sucrase, lactase. These three are the disaccharidases: maltase, sucrase, lactase. Again, enterokinase. This is the enzyme activator, means in pancreatic juice whatever the trypsinogen which is secreted, that is in inactive form, that will be gets converted into the active form of trypsin in the presence of the enterokinase only. Enterokinase principally useful for activation of trypsinogen into trypsin. So that only this is said to be as the enzyme activator. This is the enzyme activator. Again, intestinal lipase. Again, nucleosidase. Again, nucleotidase enzymes also present in the intestinal juice. Dipeptidases, disaccharidases, enterokinase, intestinal lipase, nucleosidase, nucleotidases are present. In addition to this, aminopeptidase enzyme is also present. Finally, lysozyme enzyme also present in the case of the intestinal juice or the succus entericus. What is the pH of the optimum pH of the intestinal juice means 7.5 to 8 is the optimum pH of intestinal juice. means at this pH only all this kind of the enzymes are becomes more effective for digestion of various type of the substances. So that only optimum pH of intestinal juice is nothing but 7.5 to 8. Means in the intestinal juice what are the digestive enzymes which are present means dipeptidases, aminopeptidase, disaccharidases such as the maltase, sucrase, lactase. These are also called as the freshwater enzyme. Enterokinase, that is said to be as the enzyme activator. Intestinal lipase, nucleosidase, nucleotidase, lysozyme enzymes are present. Next fourth type of the digestive gland is pancreas. Fourth type of the digestive gland, that is the second largest gland, is the pancreas, or this also called as heterocrine gland, or this is also called as composite gland, or this is also called as amphibious gland, or this is also called as sweet gland. Next, fourth type of the digestive gland which is associated to the human alimentary canal is pancreas. This is the second largest gland. This is the leaf-like gland. This is the second largest gland. Again, it is hidden in U-shaped duodenal. This is the loop of duodenum. In the U-shaped two sides of the loops of duodenum, this pancreas gets hidden. This pancreas gets hidden in U-shaped loop of duodenum. Originally, as per the NCERT, the shape of the duodenum is C shape. But as per the Telugu Academy concept, that is the U shape. But in final NEET exam, you should consider the shape of the duodenum is C. C is the shape of the duodenum originally. Again, in the case of the pancreas, why we say pancreas is the heterocrine or the composite gland or the amphibious gland means, in the case of the pancreas, both exocrine as well as endocrine portions are present. Means 98% of the portion is concerned for the secretion of the digestive enzyme. Remaining 2% of the portion is concerned for secretion of the hormone. Means both endocrine as well as the exocrine portions are present in the pancreas. Due to that reason, that is said to be as the heterocrine gland or composite gland or amphibious gland. Again, why we say it is the sweet gland means, it is principally useful for regulation of the sugar levels in the blood of the person by secreting two type of the hormones such as the insulin and glucagon. By secreting two type of the hormones such as the insulin and glucagon, this pancreas principally useful to regulate the glucose levels in the blood of the person. Due to that reason, that is said to be as the sweet gland. Again, in the case of the pancreas, 98% of the portion which is present, that is said to be as the exocrine portion. That is the exocrine portion. This is said to be as the exocrine portion. In the case of the exocrine portion, this is the exocrine part that account to 98%. That is considered for the secretion of the digestive enzyme in the form of the pancreatic juice. In the case of the exocrine portion, whatever the lobes which are present, they are said to be as the acini. Functional unit which is present in the case of the pancreas, specifically in exocrine part, is said to be as the acini. Again, remaining 2% of portion which is present in the center, that is with the specialized crypts, that is said to be as the islets of Langerhans. Specifically in the case of the pancreas, centrally, whatever the endocrine portion which is present, which account to only 2%, that is said to be as the islets of Langerhans. They account to only 2%. Again, they are with 1 to 2 millions of cells. 1 to 2 millions of the cells are present here. That kind of the cells are principally are of two types. One is the alpha cells, second one is the beta cell. Alpha cells principally secrete glucagon, beta cells principally secrete insulin. These islets of Langerhans are with about 1 to 2 millions of cells. They are principally categorized into two types. One is the alpha, second one is the beta cell. Alpha cells principally secrete the glucagon, beta cells principally secrete the insulin. This glucagon always increases glucose levels in the blood of the person. This insulin always decreases glucose levels in the blood of the person. So both of them works against one with another. By that way, they regulate the glucose levels in the blood of the person. Due to that reason, this pancreas is said to be as the sweet gland. Again, from the exocrine part, whatever the juice which is secreted, that is said to be as the pancreatic juice. From the exocrine part of the pancreas, juice which is secreted, that is said to be as the pancreatic juice. That is the pancreatic juice. Then what are the digestive enzymes which are present in the pancreatic juice means? What are the digestive enzymes which are present means? One is the trypsinogen. This is the inactive form. Trypsinogen is inactive form. Second one is the chymotrypsinogen, also inactive form. Procarboxypeptidase, that's also inactive form. Again, pancreatic lipase, this is also called as the steapsin. This is principally useful for the digestion of the fat. This is crucial for getting the digestion of the fats. Again, nucleases such as the RNase, DNase. Again, pancreatic amylase. enzymes are present in the case of the pancreatic juice. Trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen, continuation. In pancreatic juice, what are the enzymes which are present means trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen, procarboxypeptidase, pancreatic lipase that is said to be as the steapsin, nucleases such as the RNase, DNase, pancreatic amylases are principally present here. Then what is the optimum pH of the pancreatic juice means 8.4. Optimum pH of pancreatic juice is 8.4, means at pH of 8.4 only all these digestive enzymes are more effective for digestion of the various type of the substances. This is the pancreas. Finally, last digestive gland which is associated to the human alimentary canal is the liver. Next one is the liver. This is the largest gland in our body. Liver is the largest gland. This is the largest gland in the human body. Its weight is approximately 1.2 to 1.5 kgs. Where it is located means in the right side of the abdominal region just below to the diaphragm. Bilobed liver is present. Principally 2 lobes are present in the liver of the person. So that only this is said to be as the bilobed gland. In the case of the liver 2 lobes are present. So that only that is said to be as the bilobed liver, bilobed gland. It is located in the right side of the abdominal cavity just below to the diaphragm. Again in each and every lobe, just assume this is the one side of the lobe, this is the another side of the lobe of the liver. Between the 2 sides of the lobe of the liver, whatever the green colored thin walled muscular sac which is present, that thin walled muscular sac is said to be as the gallbladder. This is useful for temporary storing of the bile juice. Definitely between the 2 sides of the lobes of liver, thin walled muscular sac which is present, which is green in color, that is said to be as the gallbladder. Again when we observe each and every lobe, in each and every lobe of the liver, again hexagonal shaped structures which are present. That hexagonal shaped structures are said to be as the hepatic lobules. They are said to be as the hepatic lobule. Here also similarly, these are the hepatic lobule. These hepatic lobules are said to be as structural as well as functional units of liver. These are referred to as the structural unit as well as the functional units also. Normally in the case of other gland, cells are referred to as the structural as well as the functional unit. But in the case of the liver, we should not consider hepatocytes as the structural and functional unit. Instead of that, hepatic lobules are said to be as the structural as well as functional units. These are the structural and functional units of liver. Again, when we observe the structure of hepatic lobule, in each and every hepatic lobule, around to the hepatic lobule, whatever the loose connective tissue sheath which is present, that loose connective tissue sheath is said to be as the Glissen's capsule. That is said to be as the Glissen's capsule. Around to each and every hepatic lobule, the loose connective tissue sheath which is present to provide the protection to that is said to be as the Glissen's capsule. Glissen's capsule is characteristic feature of mammalian liver. In mammalian liver, this Glissen's capsule is present here. Below to that, centrally, whatever the blood vessel which is present, that is said to be as the central vein. That is said to be as the central vein. Around to the central vein, hepatocytes are arranged in longitudinal row. In longitudinal row, hepatocytes are arranged around to the central vein. This is the one longitudinal row of hepatocyte. 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 Each and every longitudinal row of hepatocyte is said to be as hepatic cord. This is said to be as the hepatic cord. Each and every longitudinal row of hepatocytes, this is the one is called as the hepatic cord. Means this is the one hepatic cord. This is the one hepatic cord, this is the one hepatic cord, this is the one hepatic cord, this is the one hepatic cord. Longitudinal row of hepatocytes are the liver cell which may be present around to that central vein is said to be as the hepatic cord. Between the two hepatic cords, whatever the space which is present, this space is filled with the blood. That kind of the space filled blood is said to be as the sinusoids. Specifically between the two rows of hepatic cords, whatever the space which is present, that is said to be as the sinusoid. In sinusoids, specialized macrophages are present. They are said to be as the Kupffer cells or hepatic macrophages or stellate reticulo endothelial cells. Specifically in the case of the liver, between the two hepatic cords, whatever the space which is present, which is filled with the blood, that is said to be as the sinusoid. In sinusoids, whatever the macrophages which may be present, they are said to be as the Kupffer cell or the hepatic macrophages or the stellate reticuloendothelial cells. Again, at each and every hexagonal corner, specialized unities gets formed here. This specialized unit is said to be as the portal triad. Means at each and every hexagonal corner, whatever the unit which is gets formed, that is said to be as the portal triad. Then what are the structures which are useful for getting the formation of the portal triad means? One is the portal vein branch of portal vein, branch of portal vein, branch of hepatic artery, again branch of bile duct. So definitely branch of portal vein, branch of hepatic artery, branch of bile duct, these three together constitute a unit that is said to be as the portal triad. Portal triad means in hepatic lobule 6 portal triads are present. 6 portal triads are present totally, means at each and every hexagonal corner one portal triad is present. That portal triad, each and every portal triad is made up of with branch of the hepatic portal vein, branch of the hepatic artery, branch of the bile duct. Again, from this kind of the each and every hepatic lobule, one ductule is arises. All that kind of the ductules are gets united and form the hepatic duct. This is said to be as the hepatic duct of this side. This is the hepatic duct of this side. Similarly, from this also, these are the hepatic ductules. From each and every hepatic lobule, one ductule is arises.